713. To the 281, yeah, I'm riding. Why they on me? Why they on me? I'm flying. Sipping low key. I'm sipping low key and honest. Rider. I get those goosebumps every time. I get those goosebumps every time. I need the hype, throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time, yeah. When you're not around, we throw that to the side. I get those goosebumps every time.
Up the mags. Yes, sir.
Hello and welcome to Loaded Mag NUFC. Welcome on a Monday evening for a change. This is the Loaded Mag reaction to our FA Cup fourth round win against Birmingham City there at the weekend, and also the live draw. So we said we'd bring the both of them together and kind of lead us into the build-up to the draw. But boys, how are you? Chris, what do you first?
Yeah, I'm good, mate. I feel a little bit rushed. I'm not gonna lie. I was in the office today, came home, briefly said hello to Lisa and Summer and Cal, and then grabbed something to eat. Looking forward to doing the show, obviously, as I always am. And then I'm promptly going to finish eating something to eat, and then going to play footy. So a little bit hectic this evening, but I'm good, mate. I'm good, and looking forward to seeing who we get in the draw. Obviously, hoping for a home draw, and I think as well, which I'm looking forward to talking about later. That's a bit of an interesting theory when I was looking at the odds on the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. But yeah, we'll go into that later, I'm sure. But I'm good on the whole, mate. I am good, thanks. Pete, how are you doing, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Busy weekend, busy day, as everyone else has. Just interesting to see what the draw's going to bring. Be an interesting one. I think it's 7:05. The draw is.
Yeah, it's meant to be.
Around that, yeah. Too many red cups, Pete.
Yeah, a few.
I'll answer the question as well. I'm very similar to you, Chris, because I'm just in the door as well, and got to say hello to Teresa and my little boy for 5 minutes, and then doing this, so I might get to say goodnight to him as well. But I was in the office like yourself today as well. So rush. But let's get into this, because we want to have our reaction done before we start getting excited about the draw.
Yeah.
So this was the team news for Newcastle, and yes, there were 9 changes. We said as much. Actually, we said everything apart from Bruno starting. We had Gordon down to start, but Bruno started. Gordon with a slight thigh strain, I think, was the reason why, and pretty much all new backline apart from Byrne there. Well. Tino's in there as well. He's a regular first, but from the game against Arsenal, I should say. And this was the Birmingham City team, who came to fight in more ways than one. Well, they were at home. But what did you make of the team selections, boys?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I was quite pleased. I was quite pleased at our effort. I don't think we were far off. You know what I mean? We weren't that far off, were we? I think we all had a feeling, didn't we, that Osula would be starting, and obviously started on the right, which was good to see. An opportunity for him to get some minutes under his belt. We all knew Pope would obviously play. That made perfect sense. Back from injury, he hasn't really. In fact, I'd say hasn't really. He hasn't stepped foot on the field yet. So great for him to get some first team minutes. Back four pretty much expected. I didn't think that Bruno would play, but he did, and I wasn't upset when I saw the lineup. I've got to admit, I thought it's strong enough to do the job, which ultimately it did. That was the main thing. But yeah, it was interesting because I knew we'd be in for a tough game People will look and go, League One side, but the League One sides who should really be in the Championship. It was a bit of a shock when they got relegated the previous season. So we knew we were up for the battle. Playing away from home is never easy, full stop. And with that Birmingham crowd behind them at St Andrews, it was always going to be a difficult one. And yeah, like you say, Taz, I think we quickly knew we were in a physical battle as well as a technical battle. But yeah, no, I was pleased with the lineup, mate, and I was looking forward to seeing some unfamiliar faces who don't always get the opportunity to play in the first team. So it was good to see a few people in there that we don't see week in, week out.
Cool, that's Chris. And the next three, you want to add, Pete, to the lineups?
No, it was always going to be a change after the efforts that have been exerted on Wednesday. So, and I wanted to see a change. To be fair, I didn't think we needed to take Alexander Isak. I didn't think we needed to take Gordon. It was up to those players to go out and prove that they were good enough to be in and around this first team. It's as simple as that. And there was some impressive performances from what I saw. So good to see all round.
Cool. Let's get into the game. So I'll kind of fly through this. I'll stop at the goals. How about that? I'll stop stopping straight away because a goal after 40 seconds, Birmingham, Laird. It was in a set play, came from corner, and he applied the finish. And it was a decent finish. If I think back though, there was no one marking him. There was two in the box. There were three. Any comments on that goal we let in?
Just to highlight what you said, really, Daz, it was just disappointing that obviously the ball got headed back in and no one was marking him. So we just had a free swing, although it was fortuitous because I think it hit, correct me if I'm wrong, it was either Shah. No, not Shah, can't have been Shah. It must have been Bain. I think it hit Dan Bain and then it bounced off Nick Pope, who didn't really have a chance of it, to be fair, because there was a fair bit of power behind it and the lad was only about 6-7 yards out. So yeah, it was just a bit of a shock to the system because we then knew we were in a cup tie because, as you say, under the minute we're 1-0 down. So it certainly woke everybody up. But yeah, disappointing goal to concede, but you can kind of forgive it in the sense that we were 47 seconds in or something, and maybe there was a little bit of confusion. But yeah, disappointing. But yeah, at the same time, I don't think there was much Pope could have done with it, or it would have helped if someone had marked the lad who hit it. But one of those.
For you, Pete, how bad a goal was that to concede?
Yeah, it's just a shock. Don't really concede many goals like that. We've been sort of lauded midweek for not conceding goals in that sort of situation, and then we concede one against League One opposition. But it's if we're being honest, I don't think there's much of a surprise there. We've started slowing a lot of games recently, whether it's the first team or not. I actually think, if I'm being honest, that it woke us up. I think the reaction that we got after that was based on the fact that they scored early. Look, we can look back now and go, it is what it is. But yeah, it's not an ideal start, especially when you're away to Birmingham City, who are playing really well at the moment in League One. And I have to say, fair play to their atmosphere. They created a real atmosphere there for a League One team. Packed out, big atmosphere, big. It was a real big night feel for Birmingham City, and it just goes to show they shouldn't really be in League One. They're at least a Championship level team, so fair play to them. But we had to respond, and respond we did.
Respond we did, but at 14 minutes, it was a good save from Popey. He's very good with his hands, not so much with his feet. But 20 minutes, we get one back. Willock with the ball over the line, even though the second attempt went sky high, but the ball was over the line, and the first attempt was Wilson with the cross, Osula with the pullback, Willock with the finish. There's no VAR, so they couldn't check it on VAR. But I'm going to go to you, Pete. Was that ball over the line?
I think it is over the line, but I have no idea how the linesman seen it. I think the angle that they show from the opposite end of the pitch. There's a player right there. There's a player right there on the line. The goalkeeper is obviously behind the goal, which is why I think the linesman's made the decision he's made is because he can see quite obviously that the goalkeeper's in his own goal as he's made that save. I'll be honest, I have no idea how the linesman's called that. I think the question marks about it are absolutely right, because I think if we were on the receiving end of that without sort of goal line technology, I think we'd be questioning it if that was Birmingham City that scored it. So it's only right to question it from the other side of things. But obviously, as a fan, I'm buzzing that we're back in the game, because Birmingham City's heads properly dropped at that point. But I have to say, some really, really good work from Callum Wilson. Really didn't give the ball up. Had a couple of battles with the ball, came out on top for both, and then it's a lovely, lovely left-footed cross from him. You don't really see that side to Callum Wilson very often. Puts that ball in. I think it's Osula that puts it back, as you mentioned, and this is where we need to see Joe Willock. Joe Willock arriving in the box late, adding to the attacks as an attacking midfielder. That's where you see Joe Willock at his best. If you go back to the Steve Bruce days where he went on that run of scoring goals, even in the midfield too, he'd be getting forward and getting himself into the box. And fair play to him. He was there when he needed to be. I mean, the second shot was dreadful. It was harder. It was harder to miss than score. And he's managed to balloon it into the stadium. But look. I do think it was a goal. I do think if there was goal line technology, and I don't know if they've been able to regenerate it to see whether it was over the line or not. But if you look at it from the point in which they stop it, it does look like the whole ball's over the line. So it's like the linesman's got it right, but got it right purely by technicality, not because he actually knew that it was over the line.
I wonder what Arsenal fans thought. Chris, your thoughts on the goal, the move itself, I suppose, as well.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was one of many really good moves, like clean, crisp, quick, and we saw a lot of that, at the weekend, which was really good to see. It was funny because when the shot went off, I must admit, when I was watching it, I was thinking that's in. It looks in. And as Pete's already alluded to, like, I think we've got the linesman to thank, because if the linesman hadn't have flagged, then obviously it wouldn't have been given, because VAR wasn't there to intervene, or the goal line technology. But yeah, my initial thought was that it was over the line, and I do wonder. I don't know whether this has played a part in any way, but they always say, don't they, you should look to players' reactions. To kind of help and see, when you see like a really reckless challenge and you see 3, 4, 5, 6 players all run over, it gives the referee a little bit of extra insight in terms of, they wouldn't have reacted the way they did unless they'd seen that. And when the ball was hit, you could see, I think it was Wilson, I think it was Osula, and possibly Willock as well, all kinds of like have their arms in the air saying, it's a goal. So I do think that helped as well. But I mean, it was a key moment, and as Pete's already said, when that goal went in, you could kind of see the air just kind of deflate out of Birmingham, because you could just almost see they were like, oh, here we go. They wanted to hang on to that 1-0 lead for as long as they could. Yeah. It come at a bad time for Birmingham.
Cool. Well, there's heading towards 200 now watching us live. You are in the right place. This was by design. We said we'd go over the Birmingham City game first, and then we'd lead into the draw. So we're just at the stage where it's 1-1. So smash that like button as well if while you're there. Right, because we get it's 25 minutes later. Wilson scores. Tino with the cross, chaos in the box. Wilson raises the foot to put it in the back of the net, just like that's what Wilson does. He's just like just there when he needs to be, and applied the finish. 2-1 Newcastle. Cue the celebrations, and Pete, I'll go to you for your thoughts on Wilson's goal.
Yeah, it's pleasing for me to see him back scoring goals. I know we've all had our frustrations with him, but it's so great to see him back in the mix, putting the ball in the back of the net. But it's interesting you said that, Daz, about Pope's distribution, because it's his distribution that starts the move. It's a great knock into him, into Osula from Pope. And I tell you what, the touch and the movement in one swift move from Osula was absolutely sensational. One touch kills it dead. The next touch swivels the player and he's gone. And he's running down and he has a shot. Could have maybe squared it, but in that position, you'd ask most players to shoot in that. Good save from the goalkeeper. The ball gets rehashed in. Longstaff plays the ball down. Nice little threaded pass. What you'd normally see Bruno do, that little pass in between the lines. Tino across goal. And I think Osula won't be watching the first pot back because how he's not scored himself, I've got no idea. Again, another one that was harder to miss than actually to score. But it pops up in the air. And is quick as lightning. He's always in those situations in and around the 6-yard box. Is Callum Wilson, and he's there to poke it home, and he has to react quickly because the goalkeeper's there to pretty much just catch the ball. If Wilson doesn't react, the keeper catches it and play continues. But he's there. He manages to get his foot high and just poke it home, and it's a good finish from him. So great to see him back scoring goals. You could see a little bit of relief in his face as he's kind of running off celebrating. Like it would have meant a lot to him. It's been a long time since he scored. I think it was Burnley away last season was his last goal, where we won there comfortably. And I think, that's a long time for a striker, a long time for someone like Callum Wilson not to score. You're coming up close to a year now, effectively, which is wild to think. But great goal. Took the lead, and I think fully deserved at that point because we were playing some really, really good stuff once we got that first one.
Chris, I'll go to you. Was Wilson's foot too high? Would you have given a free out?
No, absolutely not. No, do you know what, Daz? I was absolutely delighted for Callum Wilson, as Pete's just said. Then, it was a timely goal for him. He's been out for so long, and Callum Wilson scores goals. We all know that. And when Callum Wilson's on the pitch, he's a big threat. And we can't forget that. I think the frustration of the fans, certainly over the past season or two, has been the fact that he's not on the pitch enough. Because when he is on the pitch, that's what he's capable of. And to put us 2-1 up, Newcastle then in the driving seat. But no, I was absolutely delighted for Callum Wilson because he will have thought about that. And when he was starting, when obviously he found out from Eddie Howe he was starting, I'm sure he was envisaging, he will know more than anyone that, he's got to perform between now and the end of the season. He'll want an opportunity to play in that Carabao Cup final. He'll want to try and earn himself a new deal. And if he carries on with performances like that, he's given Eddie Howe and the owners, a tough decision. Because when he's fit and he's raring to go, Callum Wilson is a great striker. There's no doubt about it. But that was made up for him.
When he's fit is the old caveat and all that.
Yeah.
Get double figures, then we'll consider. Not consider anything like a new contract yet. Right.
Oh, sorry, guys. There's a really important thing there around Callum Wilson's overall. He played 55 minutes or so. There's a big thing with Callum Wilson. I think I've said it to you guys privately, but I'll say it again. Is that the one thing I felt when he came back earlier on in the season from his injury is that I didn't feel him coming off the bench that he was playing 100% free. It almost felt like he was playing within himself. I didn't see that on Saturday. I saw Callum Wilson playing at 100% pelt. For me, that game for Callum Wilson was the ultimate test. He's playing up against big, solid centre-backs that are going to be knocking him around, and that's exactly what they tried to do. He was there for the hustle and bustle of the game. He was given as much as he got, but he was given 100% for it. So you could tell physically he was there. And look, it's all a kind of hope and a prayer, really. But he's just got to stay fit now. They've got to manage him. For me, he doesn't start. Isak always starts. He'll have to come off the bench and impact the game. FA Cup, the next round, depending on who we get, fine. Play him again, start him again, no problem. But we really do have to manage him now because it's just as important for Alexander Isak that Callum Wilson stays fit as it is for Callum Wilson. We need both of them to stay fit now because we need to look after Isak We've looked at the injuries, what we've got now to Dan Burn and Sven Botman, and we're now panicking going into the game on Saturday of whether either one of them or both are going to be fit. Like, we don't want that to be a situation where we've got Alexander Isak out because we've overplayed him, and then we lose Callum Wilson as well. It's a really delicate situation, but he did look like he was giving 100%, whereas I didn't think he was doing that earlier on in the season.
That's a really good point you've made there, Pete.
It is a good point. Yeah,
very good point. I was just going to say, you could even tell from Wilson's pressing, like his pressing was bob on. Like he was constantly pushing, and at times he kept looking to his left and right as if to go, "Come on, lads, come with me, come up with the press." He looked as well as we've seen him for a long, long time. I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, boys. I'm moving along because I know how BBC are always on time with that draw. They never run it over late, so that's why I'm rushing. Right, 31 minutes. Willock has the ball in the net, but was ruled offside. It is on BBC, is it, or is it on ITV?
BBC.
I've
got it on now. Just this. It's just the news. Nothing that we're interested in.
Right, 39 minutes. Birmingham, I keep wanting to say Brighton. Birmingham, chance straight at Pope. 39 minutes, an absolute thunder bastard shot from Tomoki Iwata. Top bins, more or less, but an absolute great goal. I think we'd be happy if Newcastle scored that. 2-2 though at that stage. I don't think you can blame anyone with that one. Just a great goal.
Just to say, mate, that was the pure football fan in me coming out, because you know when that at the back of the net, I wouldn't say it was a celebration, but it was like a wow, what on earth was that? Like it was an absolutely brilliant goal. You had to give it to them. Obviously, I then quickly realised that Birmingham had equalised and it was 2-2. But in terms of watching it live, like you've got to appreciate stuff like that. Like that is a brilliant finish, and like I was genuinely made up for him because I thought he's going to be playing that back to all his family, his kids, his grandkids, going, look at that goal I scored in the FA Cup. Like that's one of the goals of the season. That it was absolutely brilliant. It was a great finish, and you're right, you can't blame Pope for that because like I don't think any keeper would have got near that. It was a pure strike. It was brilliant.
Dubravka would have saved it.
No, he would not.
I'll say it, Pete. I know you want to say that. Number one fan. Right. Never. There are 2-2 in at this stage, as you might have guessed. And we go into the second half. Bruno comes off, Tonali comes on as planned. That was Eddie's plan all along. Give them 45 minutes each. But what wasn't his plan is on 54 minutes, Big Dan Burn comes off with an injury and Char comes on. Big worry as we go into the big important games in the next little while and as coming up on Saturday against Man City. Wilson comes off as well, and Murphy comes on at that same time. Osula moves to the number 9 position. The game then starts to get dirty. Lots of pushing into the advertising boards, and it was more like gladiators than football at times, which was ironically cancelled, but that for this game on BBC. But plenty of yellow cards were handed out. Birmingham deserved at least one red. Birmingham then decided to sub off anyone with a yellow card because they were afraid they were going to get a red card, I think. But on 81 minutes, Willock gets a goal. Great pass and move started by Willock. Passes over to Tino. Tino on to Longstaff. Back to Willock, and Willock sent it through the keeper's legs. That was 2 goals for Willock on the night to make it 3-2. Cue the celebration from Willock as well. And didn't he deserve it after everything he's been through this last week as well? But boys, who wants to go first on Willock's winner?
Go on, Chris. Go for me.
Sigh of relief. You could see that we were slowly creeping into it. I think the commentator made the point and said, like, you could tell the fitness levels at that point. But I was thinking, please, I don't want this to go on any further than the full 90 minutes. It was a very enjoyable game to watch, albeit there were some worrying moments. But yeah, it was much needed. little bit scrappy, but I thought that we played the ball intricately well, and I thought Tino did really well for the goal on that right-hand side. You know, he was bombing up and down all game, and I thought Tino did really well cutting it back to Willock. And then, as Pete mentioned earlier, Willock coming into the box, arriving late, and just getting it low and hard on target, and the keeper's got no chance. But yeah, it was. You could see how much Joe Willock was made up to score the goal, but I think as well from the other Newcastle players, there was a little bit of relief there as well. And Eddie Howe must have thought, right, now it's just about hanging on and making sure, you know, that we didn't concede again. But yeah, delighted. And you know, when the ball hit the back of the net, I thought, yeah, we've got this now. We've got this. We've just got to see the game out.
Cool. Pete, thoughts on Willock's winner?
Yeah, very much needed for the team and for Joe Willock. Brilliant to see him score the goals that he did, and genuinely play well. We've been waiting for a performance like that from Joe Willock for quite a while, and we've been worried that we're not going to ever see it really at Newcastle United. And there has been talks in the fan base about him potentially being the next one to be sold on. Well, it's clear to see that he doesn't want to be sold, and he wants to get into this team and play in this team. And it can only be a good thing, you know, what happened on Wednesday night against Arsenal, because we're in a cup final, and you know that performance against Birmingham with a number of players that are on the fringes, were performances to say that I want to start, I want to be in this first team. You know, you're looking at Joe Willock, and you're looking at the situation with Newcastle now, when Joe Linton's out for the next few weeks. We don't know whether he's going to be back or even make the final. So we need to know that other players in the team are going to be stepping up. And who's the backup to Joe Linton? Big little Joe. Joe Willock is that guy. And for him to put in a man of the match performance like that is so timely for Newcastle United. Just when we're looking around to think, oh, who's going to be playing? Who's going to come in for Joe? Well, there you go. If you want to do 4-4-3-3, Joe Willock's your man. But he also proved that he can play out wide. He also proved he can link the play. He's arriving in the box. He's scoring goals. We need this more and more. We're going to laud him with praise because he deserves it for this performance. But we now need to see him put in another performance at the Etihad. You know, we need to see him go again against Forest. We've got big games coming up. We need to see that he is going to be consistent with this and put out a really top runner form in Joe Linton's absence. We absolutely need this. But it's a brilliant goal. To be still lurking and be in and around things in the box in the 81st minute or whatever minute it was, just shows his work rate, his fitness, and his determination to do the business. And it was a lovely goal. And the celebrations in the way all the players celebrated around him shows just how much they care for him. And like you said, what he's been through in the last week with all the stuff on social media, he needed that. And that picture you've put up a couple of times, Stas, is definitely one of relief, absolute relief there, to be able to do the business for the travelling fans.
There's one picture I liked more than that. I'll put it up in 1 second because it wasn't finished yet. 84 minutes, save from Popey from a corner set piece. 89 minutes, a Willock of the ball to Murphy. He goes wide past the keeper, but it was cleared off the line by the defender. A final result, and here's the picture. It's Willock to silence the abusers on social media. But yes, no better way to do it. So fair play to Joe Willock. Debatable where you'll appear in squad game, but for now, well done. That's for another day. Has a role to play, definitely, as does Wilson in the remainder of the season. Another man that had a good game as well. Willock obviously got man of the match, and his buddy, Mr. Alexander Isak, putting that up, so nice to see that as well. But Osula also had a good game, lads. As a right winger, tricky, handful. Don't know what he's going to do next. Sometimes you wonder if he knows what he's going to do next, but he's entertaining to watch. That's for sure. And he was well able to handle himself as well against rough opposition. What do you make of Osula's performance, lads?
I was pleased with Will Osula. I can, without being disrespectful, I can see why he hasn't got the minutes that people expect him to. Like, he is very, very, very raw. And you kind of hit the nail on the head, Daz, when you said you're not quite sure what he's going to do, and I don't think he is. But the key with him is he's got the attitude, his attitude spot on. He's got the determination. He's got the engine. He's big. He's physical. He's powerful, and he's got a trick in him. So he actually suited playing on that right wing quite well. And he gave the Birmingham left hand side a real torrid time. He was putting himself about. Obviously, he's going to have to be careful going forward in terms of, you know, not getting sucked into into battles in terms of, you know, potentially getting sent off or yellow cards and stuff like that, because you could see the Birmingham players trying to wind him up. And obviously, I think he did end up getting a yellow card, didn't he? Him and another Birmingham player got pulled in. But I thought, I've seen enough of him to know that there is a player in there. Like, there's definitely something about him, but he is very much a rough diamond. He's just someone who just needs polishing a little bit. And I think, looking back on it, I think all those games and all those minutes that he got at Sheffield United in the Premier League will have helped him. You know, so he's not come in, you know, with zero experience. He's played in a really poor Sheffield United side and probably played a lot of games when he's not even barely got a touch. But I think that's probably helped him long term, because now obviously he's joined us and he's probably seen a lot more of the ball than he ever saw at Sheffield United, particularly in the Premier League. But this is a level up. But the good news for him is he's playing now and training alongside far better players. And I think as long as Eddie Howe and the group continue to coach him, get the best out of him, and I think he's only going to have a bright future. Whether or not it's at Newcastle, I don't know, because I do wonder whether, you know, he could be. I'm not starting rumours here or anything, but I wonder whether he is one of those players that we upskill, get to a certain level, and then move on if a good offer comes in. I could be wrong, and he could prove me wrong, and, you know, end up being this absolute superstar for Newcastle. But I think it's too early to judge yet. But from what I've seen, he looks a talented lad, and I think he's got something about him.
How is it for you, Pete? Will Osula?
Yeah, it's his best performance since he signed for the club. I thought he was absolutely brilliant, and for me, I think he may well have found his position. I've looked at him playing up front, and he showed glimpses. He shows the pressing and the work rate, but it has something a little bit missing. Whereas he had a lot of time and space out wide, and that's where I think he's in his element, where he's got that time and space, and he's got the ability to drive into the open spaces with the ball at his feet, because he's fit, he's physically big, and he's strong, and he's fast, and he can get at plays. He's got a little bit of trickery about him, so he can use his step overs, he can dip in and out inside, and he can cause a real problem for players. He's got that knack of being able to get ball into the box as well. And he's still very, very raw. But just from all the performances that I've seen of him, I think that was his best. Now, obviously, we need to see it against better opposition. And he'll need to do it on a more regular basis. But there's the scope there to believe that he could well be that sort of stand-in for Murphy, coming off the bench in games, playing on that right-hand side, moving forward, and showing what he can do maybe in the Premier League. You know, he's not going to be like the main guy of any way, shape or form. He's still in work in progress. I do think next season he will end up going out on loan. I still think he should have gone in January on loan to play regular football. I think, you know, Eddie Howe's had 6 months of work in him, and you can clearly see the difference from when I watched him in the Cellar Cup to what I saw on Saturday. I'm seeing a completely different player, a player that Eddie Howe has got hold of, and is starting to really like hone into a player that's got massive potential. But it will come a point where he needs to he needs to move on, where he needs to go and play regular football to prove that he can do it at that level, whether it's Championship. You know, someone like Southampton, I mentioned a while back, someone like Sheffield United, maybe in the Premier League next season where he might play regular games, who knows? But he is definitely someone that needs regular football at some point, and I just don't, he isn't going to get that at Newcastle United. That doesn't mean that he doesn't have a great loan and come back, or as you've mentioned, you know, this is part of a new model now where, you know, we are going to be a bit like Chelsea and a little bit like Man City, where we will develop a player, and if they do really, really well and they can offer him first team football and they want to sign him, we can go, right, okay, fine. We bought him for 15, let's sell him for 25. We've made 10 million profit, whack that back in the coffers, and we move on and we develop another player. You know, it could well be that process. We have to be clear that not every young player that comes through our academy or we buy to be a potential will actually fulfill their potential at Newcastle United. That's the reality of football. We can't expect that. And so Will Osula might well be that guy. And hey, if he adds 25 million to the coffers, having a great loan from somewhere, and that allows us to go out and get a ready-made, first-team ready player to develop the team, then most Newcastle fans will go, so be it. But lots more to see from Osula. Really impressive performance. You know, was unfortunate not to get man of the match. It's just that Willock was just absolutely superb. But this is what we want to see. We want to see players taking their opportunities. You know, I'd love us to get a Plymouth in the next round or a Millwall and have him play again and be able to do that again and develop his craft a little bit. That's what we want to see in the next 5 minutes when that draw comes out. And hopefully we do get to see that.
I agree with you on the right wing. I think right wing could be his position, but yeah, I also think that he's at the moment when he's playing, he's got so many things going through his head. He just needs to focus, and that's what Eddie Howe will hopefully get out of him. 5 minutes, Pete. You know, EastEnders is probably on there. It'll be another half an hour for that draw. But here is the team photo as well. They're still rambling on, are they? Here's the team photo after the game. So everyone present and correct there. Even John Ruddy back in home ground at Birmingham City. But another thing I want to mention before we before I'm going to cut to you, Chris, if we still have time, is that Alex Murphy got a goal as well. Alex Murphy on loan at Bolton I think he got the second goal in a 4-3 win for Bolton there on Saturday as well, before our game, obviously. So well done, Alex Murphy. Chris, let's go to you before, because it'll change right after the draw. Your information there.
It will, yeah, you're quite right. Yeah, it's probably a good time to go to it, actually, isn't it? But yeah, I posted this in our WhatsApp chat earlier today, didn't I, boys? And I'll start with the Carabao Cup odds. So, Carabao Cup odds, obviously ourselves versus Liverpool in the final. Liverpool, understandably, favourites at 2-7 to lift the trophy, and Newcastle there at 5-2 to lift the trophy. So outsiders, but as we all know, it's 90 minutes of football, and who knows what can happen. But what was interesting was, boys, and it was a conversation that stemmed from my dad. Actually, he was like, he said to me this morning, he went, "So when you think about it," he said, "some big hitters have gone out with the FA Cup now." He said, "There's no Liverpool, there's no Arsenal," and it got me thinking, and I was like, I wonder what the odds are on the FA Cup and for Newcastle. So here are the odds for the FA Cup. So Manchester City are the favourites at 9-4. Newcastle are second favourites to lift the FA Cup this year. So Newcastle are 5-1. Man United are 6-1. I mean, I think anyone would be absolutely insane to put that bet on. I've got to be honest. I think that's a crazy. I mean, they always say the bookies don't get it wrong. Oh, will we get Mehdi?
Yeah.
Right, I'll wrap it up really. Oh, go on, Pete.
Carry on, fella.
Yeah, I'll wrap it up dead quick. So yeah, Man United are 6-1. I think that's crazy odds, being third favourites. Aston Villa are 7-1. Bournemouth are 8-1, and Brighton are 9-1. But boys, what were your thoughts when I posted that in the group? Just saying, you know, like Newcastle, second favourites for the FA Cup, and obviously second favourites for the Carabao Cup. What did you think about that?
Put the house on the double. Go on.
The double works out at roughly 20-1, but I was saying to Daz, you'd need to probably inquire at a bookmakers to get a price on the two. You can't do it as a double online. You'd have to get a combined price. But the odds, based on what they are right now, it would work out at a 20-1 double. So it'd be there or thereabouts. But it sounds like we've got every chance. What did you think, Pete?
Well, I'll be honest, that's the first time I've seen it. So yeah, looking at that, I'm not surprised with the odds. The two Carabao Cup finalists being the odds on favourites to win. Yeah, be up there within that. That doesn't surprise me. But the FA Cup winners, yeah. It just goes to show what people think of us now. Ahead of Man United, ahead of Villa, who are in the Champions League, Bournemouth, Brighton, who all get lauded with praise over the course of this season, but yet Newcastle United is sitting second. But it just goes to show we're a team that people are seeing as a genuine threat now for these cup competitions. So it can only be a good thing. But we need to back it up.
Yeah. And I was going to say the very last thing I'll say, if anyone is tempted to have a bet on that FA Cup, I must draw your attention to the fact that our next league game is against Manchester City. So if we were to go to Manchester City, to the Etihad at the weekend and go and win, you can guarantee those odds will reduce because obviously Man City are favourites to lift the FA Cup. And if we go to the Etihad and beat them like 3-0, I bet you those odds will change because people will then say, oh, maybe Newcastle should be a little bit more favourite. So if you were thinking of having a bet on it, I would do it before the Manchester City game, because if we beat Manchester City, you won't get 5-1 on Newcastle anymore. That's for sure.
We need a betting company to sponsor us, I think, as well.
We do.
With all this great work you're putting out there, Chris. And if you're interested in becoming a sponsor, contact Loaded Mag NUFC info@gmail.com. That's where you'll find us. How's the Senders looking, Pete?
It's just put the numbers for the draw. Obviously, we know Newcastle United are number 9. So it's just had the pictures of all the teams. The balls.
Any teams we want to avoid, Pete? Which numbers do we want to avoid, would you say?
Yeah, number 1, Man United. Although
I'll take that.
Take them.
Bournemouth, number 11.
Yeah, I don't want Bournemouth.
Villa, number 12. 14 is Man City. Preston North End are the first team out. And they will play Burnley.
Oh, Northwest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Number 12, Aston Villa. Oh, come on. Oh, come on. Number 16, they've got Cardiff.
Okay.
Not a bad draw for them at all. I'd have took that. Number 15, Doncaster or Palace.
Oh, that's tonight, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they play Millwall. Okay, so some of these lesser teams have been chipped out now. So there's quite a few Premier League teams left, including us. Number 1, Man United. Wouldn't that be typical? Oh, number 8, Fulham. They got Fulham.
Okay.
Man City is still in. Number 9, Newcastle United.
Yes,
home draw.
That's what we wanted, boys. That's what we wanted.
Okay, avoid 11 and 14. Brighton at home.
Okay.
Brighton.
Could be worse. Could be worse.
Yeah.
Could be worse.
Yeah.
Could be worse. There's your draw. I'll read out the other names. Number 11, Bournemouth.
Man City, go on.
Will play Wolves. Bournemouth against Wolves. So Man City are in there. They've got, most of the lesser teams, to be fair. Man City, home draw. Typical. They will play number 5, please. They've got Plymouth. Because the number 5 is Exeter and Forest. They obviously play Tuesday. So Exeter and Forest will play Ipswich. They're the last 2. And they've got their Forest or Exeter have got the home draw. Okay. Interesting.
Hey, I tell you what, Deji's going to be confused with that cup draw, isn't he? Man City playing Plymouth.
Yeah.
Plymouth playing Plymouth. Yeah.
Playing each other. Absolutely. Yeah. Interesting. Home draw. Good stuff. But
you've got to be happy with
that-
that, boys. I think at this stage of the competition, you've got to be happy with that home draw, and we've avoided the likes of Man City, Bournemouth. I think they were the two for me when you read them out, Pete. The two that I was thinking was I don't want Man City and I don't want Bournemouth. I would have even took Man United. I would have took it. So to get Brighton at home, I think we've got to be happy with that.
Yeah, so that match will be played between the Liverpool League game on the Wednesday the 26th. Then it'll be the FA Cup game against Brighton, and then it'll be the West Ham game. And then we're into the League Cup final. So Liverpool, Brighton, West Ham, Liverpool is that little run there. But obviously we have Man City and Notts Forest before that. A tough run, all right.
Yeah, but Donnell in the chat, he's right. He said it could be worse. It could be worse. I mean, look, can we win it? Absolutely. But it goes to a point now where you're probably looking at playing more of a stronger team in that game. So that's the big thing. So as I was saying before about Osula, is that, you know, if we'd have got a Cardiff or a Millwall, for example, or a Plymouth at home, you're playing a much more changed team. Now you've got Brighton, you're probably playing a stronger team because Brighton will probably come full strength. You look at where they are in the league. Yes, they might be well fighting for Europe, but the cup is probably their biggest opportunity of doing anything this season. So they're going to go full strength. So it's going to be that we're probably going to have to go full strength ourselves, which means some of the players like your Targets and your Osulas and players like that may well not play, or may well have to come off the bench. That's the only issue with getting a Brighton, is the team has to be then better to be able to deal with it. But look, home draw, we're in the mix. We have home comforts, and if we were lucky enough to get through that, I think we're then one game away from Wembley again.
Yes. Just checking there as well. If we were to get through against Brighton, and I know that an awful lot has to happen for them, but the quarterfinal would take place on the 29th of March. So that'd be still, it's after the League Cup final.
Yeah. So that's after we wouldn't play.
Yeah, that was it. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, because that was what we were looking at before the fixture list. It was weird that we come back to an FA Cup tie rather than a league game. So that would be it.
No, I was just checking as well. Will it land when we're over there as well? But ignore that for now. Right. What have we got in the chat, boys? Where do you want to go next?
I can throw some questions up if you want. So sorry, go on, Pete. What were you going to say, mate?
Well, I was going to bring up a little bit of breaking news that dropped just before we went live. Craig Hope reported that that Newcastle have beat Barcelona and Real Madrid to the signing of Malaga winger Antonio Cordero. This was reported just over a week ago. That the young winger he's been linked with Newcastle United, and we were rumoured to have won the race for him, and it appears that we have on a pre-contract agreement. So in the next 6 months, obviously, will be his last at Malaga. I think Malaga are playing the second tier of Spanish football, but he's 18 years old. I think predominantly plays on the right, but can play on the left, left-footed, I believe. And he's meant to be a young, exciting talent. And I know a few people in the chat have mentioned it as well. Nobby Clark had asked the question around Cordero. Tom Dixon had mentioned the same around those two players, around this particular player. But the key is that Barcelona and Real Madrid were very keen and interested to sign him. So, what just your initial thoughts on that, boys, on that potential deal being rubber stamped, and we're getting another young potential talented player coming into the academy.
No, that's what we need to do. We need to keep stocking up on these young players. Some of them will make it, you hope. Some of them will be sold on for a profit. Some of them won't make it at all. Some of them will be sent out on loan to try and get experience. Well, he has some experience already. He's played 28 times for Malaga and scored 3 goals. He's Spanish under 18, under 19 as well. I think I looked at a clip about him, but I can't remember it now, to tell you the truth. But yes, if Paul Mitchell, not Phil Mitchell, on these senders, see something in him, or sign him up, and let's see some of them coming through. Then, if you remember as well, we said before when Paul Mitchell came in that he had a great record of Monaco bringing through young players. So hopefully that happens with Newcastle as well.
Definitely. Chris, your thoughts on that? Antonio Cadero signed on a pre-contract agreement with from Malaga.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, mate, I know very little to nothing about him. So that news broke, and I saw people in the chat putting it in. But obviously, I'm going to have a little watch of him, a little look at him. But this is exactly the type of signing that we need to be making. This is what Paul Mitchell's been brought in for. And to be honest, anybody who Barcelona and Real Madrid wants, and we get over them, is brilliant. The last person I know that Barcelona wanted, but he ended up joining Tottenham, was Bergvall, and I've been incredibly impressed with Bergvall since he's joined Tottenham. So I'm excited by it, and hopefully he can come in, make an impact somewhere. Hopefully, and if not, get him out on loan, get him used to English football. And then hopefully we can have a gem on our hands. And again, it goes back to what we were saying earlier about Osula. There'll be some players that don't quite make the grade, or there'll be some players where we get offered a ridiculous amount of money and we sell them on. Yankuba Minter being one. I know none of us wanted Yankuba Minter to leave. We wanted him to, at least kick a football for Newcastle and see whether we liked him or not. But certainly from a PSR point of view, to sign a player for 7 million and then sell him on for anywhere believed to be 33 million to 37 million, whatever the figure ended up being, is great business. And that's what modern football clubs need to do now. They need to churn out really good players and sell them on. Ones that aren't going to quite make the grade, sell them on. So if we're bringing in this young lad, hopefully he makes the grade, he comes in and he's absolutely fantastic. But if not, we're signing a young lad on a pre-contract agreement, and if we end up moving him on for 10, 15, 20 million, then it's good business by the club. So now I'm excited to see him, and fingers crossed he's as good as all the suitors that are after him.
Chris, sorry to spoil the magic of television here, but did you run off to have some of your dinner there?
I did.
Yes, I could tell.
Possibly. Do you know what? I'm looking at the time, and I know that I kick off in an hour and 5 minutes, and I thought I need to eat before I play, because otherwise I will literally be heaving as I'm playing. When it regurgitates on you, and I'm thinking I need at least an hour before. So anyway, I'm all done. There's my confession. It was
Pot noodle. Oh, you love them. Right, maybe we go to some questions. So
yeah, we've got a few questions in the chat. So let's get to them. And today another announcement that was made, boys. Again, I only saw it just before we went live. Tom Dixon's put it in the chat. Newcastle have been allocated 31. I mean, it's a very precise number, isn't it? 31,939 tickets for the Carabao Cup final against Liverpool. Roughly the figure we were expecting. We knew it would be around 30,000.
It's less than we got for the Man United Cup final, but reportedly that we're having more tickets allocated to fans than we did for the Man United Cup final, because that kind of sponsorships and corporate tend to get a lot of the tickets. I mean, you're looking at what's it 85, 90,000 seater stadium, Wembley, but yet both teams are only getting like 31,000. So where the rest of is like where the rest of them are going. So so obviously the corporates are getting some tickets elsewhere, but then they're saying that the majority of those tickets, those 31, nearly 32,000, will be allocated to fans, which so they should be. It should be maximising as many tickets as possible for fans. And you've got two absolutely monster fan bases that would sell those tickets quite easily. So why not prioritise more tickets for those fans? It just doesn't make sense to me. But they've said all these things. Now let's see if they actually come through with it and they actually do what they intend to do. But yeah, the information's come out on the website today, Newcastle website, with regards to the tiers and all the different pots. There are 6 different pots in there. Obviously cup scheme related, season ticket related. There is a Mags plus pot, but whether it gets down to that, I very much doubt it.
I'm in the Mags plus pot.
I know. I just remember that you're in there. No.
Yeah. So let's wait. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. They all come out at on different days, at different phases. So yeah, I think we'll just have to wait and see on that. But good luck to everyone. Trying to get hold of a ticket. Obviously, they can't get everybody in, which is frustrating because I think we'd all love to be there and be part of that day. But yeah, it is what it is. So we'll just have to wait and see how that one transpires. But yeah, that's the ticket information for today.
And if you don't get one for the League Cup final, you should get one for the FA Cup final. I think that's only fair.
That's fair.
How about that?
I like that.
Or the semi-final. The semi-final, because they're both Wembley, aren't they?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So it could be potentially. We'd love it to have 3 trips to Wembley. So, and you know what? It would be interesting to see. If we did get to Wembley in the semi-final, that some of those fans that weren't successful in any of the pots to get an opportunity to go to Wembley in the next round. Obviously, how they make that possible, I've got no idea. But it'd be nice if other fans did get an opportunity for Wembley as well as part of that. Maybe by giving us a bigger allocation this time. For a semi-final of the FA Cup, it's not as big as an actual cup final. So give us a bit of allocation so we can get more fans in. At the very least. But hopefully we the Eddie and the boys can give us another trip to Wembley. Not long after the cup final, where hopefully we lift that Carabao Cup trophy. Let's wait and see.
Yeah,
cool. And how does it work out? Like, let's say it was semi-final and we were playing Man City, and like Man City don't have 31,939 fans. So could they give some of the allocation back to Newcastle?
I imagine if they didn't sell the tickets, then they probably could. So if it was
but you won't.
No, they probably wouldn't. Like they'd end up just giving more to corporate probably to give their allocation of tickets. But yeah, it would be nice if they did that. I think if it was like, for example, a lower league team that maybe wouldn't have that level of support travel on the day, maybe our allocation would be slightly bigger in that case. But yeah, I think if it was a Man City or a team of that ilk, I think it would just be split across the way. But I think they do. I think they need to give a bigger allocation to fans, because fans would absolutely sell that out, and it needs to be that needs to be recognised more for me. But let's wait and see.
Yeah,
let's move on.
I mean, Pete, you mentioned when you were talking then, about the final, the potential tickets for the final. You mentioned the word tiers. So I had to go to this next comment, and this one's from David Lee. He says, Chris, Liverpool getting beat, thoughts, mate. So, mate, there was a lot of tears. There was a lot of tears in Merseyside. Claire G's hit the nail on the head. Liverpool fans pretending they fielded academy players. So I spoke to, obviously, well, I mean, it was poetic, actually. I was in the middle of decorating, and literally the final whistle blew. I sat down on my phone, just sent the eye emoji into the group just to go, what's happened there? What's happened there? I thought it was I thought the quadruple was on. What's happened? And yeah, apparently Liverpool fielded the kids. Apparently they're not arsed over the FA Cup. Not particularly arsed over the Carabao Cup either, allegedly, which I thought was interesting. So yeah, all this, and yeah, the best one. But so I then went into explaining fielding the kids. I said, so just explain to me why your front three was Luis Diaz, Diego Jota, and Federico Chiesa. I said these don't really remind me of kids. I wouldn't say they were kids. But yeah, they're second string. They're nowhere near the first team apparently. Those three players, which again I found really interesting. But yeah,
there was their best forward,
best ever finisher. I heard Pete not so long ago, but apparently he's not fit to lace Cody Gakpo's shoes. Apparently, so all very interesting, Pete. All very interesting. And I think, I think there was a few rattled Liverpool fans knowing, that potentially this could upset things. Because I think Arne Slot come out after it, didn't he, and said the most worrying thing about the results was the fact that Liverpool didn't produce many chances. So maybe Arne's having a little bit of a wobble as well. Who knows? And don't forget, boys, on Wednesday night this week, which I'm going to have front row seats for. I'm going to the pub with the boys. It's Liverpool-Everton in the derby. So whether or not Liverpool are panicking a little bit over the last ever derby at Goodison Park, I don't know. Everton in very, very good form at the moment. So I don't know whether they're getting a little bit tetchy over this game on Wednesday. Who knows? But yeah, to answer your original question, David Lee, yeah, mate, I was there for it. I loved it. Absolutely loved it. They claim they're not bothered, but I think they are a little bit bothered. A little bit. So yeah, that was nice to see. Nice to see. And I did, boys, just to add in, I did have a look on the FA Cup odds for Liverpool, and weirdly they weren't on it.
They're not on it.
Oh. No. So you can't place a bet on Liverpool.
That's what I thought you were showing me to begin with. When you put up the two the others, that's what I thought you were putting up the favourites of the FA Cup, the top two. And then I looked and I realised I was like, hold on, they're not even in it.
Yeah. Yeah, the only one that Liverpool could possibly win, is the Carabao Cup. That is it. But yeah, they won't be winning the FA Cup this year. That is for sure. But yeah, so I'll carry on with the comments. But there were some great comments coming through, which I was here for and really enjoyed. Lee Jones asks us, boys, how many of the 9 changes who played on Saturday would you keep going forward? Very good question.
Okay, let's bring it up again.
We can get that line up.
No to Pope. Pope is our sub keeper. Wilson is our sub striker. Target is well down the pecking order. Wasn't the greatest either. He didn't do he was brilliant in the game before that. He played. Kraft is a good backup. He puts in a solid performance any time he plays. Osula is a good, as Pete said earlier, a good backup to Morfinho, and it could see what he do go forward. We know it's always a battle between Tino and Trips. Trips is ahead of him now, though, after the League Cup display against Arsenal. So Tino has to try and win his way back. Willock is the backup to J7 and to Gordon, because he did play well on that left wing there against Birmingham City. But he's back up and he's in line for a shot with J7 out. Burn. He once he's not injured, I think he stays in the team. But Botman should be with him as well. But Longstaff, no, he's squad player, but there's a good few before I play Longstaff again. Bruno's automatic choice. And Miley is he's ahead of Longstaff, well ahead of Longstaff. Could do it more game time, but not many, I think is the answer I go with.
How are you, Pete? Which of those players in the summer do you think the lights on? Which are the ones who are in danger of moving on in the summer out of those?
Okay. Honestly, Pope, Wilson, Target, Longstaff. Just from the starters, yeah? Yeah. They're the ones that I think could potentially leave. Not all of them. But I think they're the ones that, if they'd come in, they could potentially leave. Obviously, Wilson's contract's out. There's a trigger option there, which I've said to you boys before, over a year ago, year and a half ago. If he's happy staying as a third choice striker, and we want to renegotiate his contract so he's on far less than what he is right now, I'd be happy to keep Wilson, but not as a second.
Pay as you play.
Not as a backup to what he's doing right now, because we need someone that's ready to hold that mantle and be ready to play a lot more often. But I'm not against keeping Wilson as a third choice if that contract can be renegotiated. But as it stands, he'll be leaving the club. Pope, I think. You know, if a team that's getting promoted, or someone around that mid to bottom half of the table wants to buy a goalkeeper for 20 million, that wants to get 3 or 4 good years out of a goalkeeper, you can still get 20 million for Pope. We could make money on him because teams are willing to pay it, and he's still a good goalkeeper. He's a good shot stopper. We just need to move on from that now. But in terms of who could break into the team from that list, Willock's the only one for me. Obviously, there's some that would naturally start anyway. If Ben was fitted, start. Bruno, obviously. I agree with Daz. I think Trippier is number 1 right now. Livramento was okay, but he hasn't been at the level that we've seen previously that got him his England call-up. I think Willock's the one that you would put in. If we're going 4-3-3, he's starting for sure.
Yeah.
What about you, Chris? What do you think?
I agree with the ones you boys have listed. The only one I would add to the party, because I think he's still in that halfway house for me, and that's Willock. If he carries on performing like he did against Birmingham, then brilliant. I wouldn't want him to go, but I still feel like he's the kind of player, isn't he? Where if I don't know, I always list clubs, but if like a Wolves or a Palace or someone came in and went 25-30 million, Joe Willock, I think we'd seriously consider it. You could argue that for a lot of players, to be fair. You could. But
and we will.
Yeah, absolutely. But it would have to be good money. We're not going to sell him on the cheap. And he is a very good player. But yeah, I think there is a potential for him to leave. And I completely agree with what you were saying as well about Wilson, Pete. Like, he's just so frustrating, isn't he? Because when you see him play, you just think he's a great player. He really, really is. And we how often did we on this channel, and we'll all admit it, I'm sure, how often did we flip-flop? One week we were like, "Want him gone, needs to go, I don't know." And then other weeks he'd come in, he'd play, and we'd be like, "Brilliant. If he can stay fit, he's brilliant." And this is the difficulty with Callum Wilson. But you mentioned it, Daz, and it's a really good point. If we were to go to him, like, yeah, we want you to stay. We'll give you 50 grand a week basic. For every appearance you make, you'll get 20 grand. For every start you make, you'll get another 30 grand. For every goal you score, you'll get 20 grand.
Get a car.
And a car. Yeah, we need to give that car away. We really do. We've been promising it so long on the channel, but literally that is how you deal with someone like Callum Wilson. And I think Callum Wilson, in his heart of hearts, I think he would accept a deal like that. The only problem we'd have is if another Premier League club was to come in for him, or someone from Saudi, and they go, "Oh, we'll give you 150 grand a week," and then it's a bit like, okay, we can't really match that. That's when he'll go. Yeah, that's the difficulty.
Yeah, I think it will be interesting to see how that one plays out. But yeah, no, forget about the next season, boys. He has to do with this season. He has to stay fit, and he's a role to play in supporting Isa getting through the remainder of the games, because they're coming thick and fast, and he can do a job, and we should set him a target. That's why I'm saying 10 double figures. Go on, why not? If we're scoring a few goals in the match, him coming on late, that suits him down to the ground, coming on and bagging a goal or two, so he can get his numbers up. And then he's up with his value as well. He's out of contract, but maybe we give him the contract and sell him, or something like that as well. Who knows? We'll do some kind of agreement with them. Right.
And do you know what, Taz? He's a cheat code, isn't he? Because if you were to say to most other Premier League clubs, I mean, look, Arsenal. Imagine if Arsenal signed Callum Wilson, knowing full well he would stay. If you could guarantee and say he will be fit the whole season, Arsenal would be banging on our door to get him. The problem is
115 million. 150. There we go.
You can't stay fit. This is the issue.
And
that's why other clubs probably haven't taken a risk on him. He was strongly linked to West Ham. You could list 5, 6, 7, 8 clubs who would all go, oh yeah, Callum Wilson, I'll have Callum Wilson, particularly on a free. But the danger is it's keeping him fit. And this is the problem. Can clubs carry 100, 150 grand a week players who aren't playing? This is the danger. David Tofield makes a really good point. Our physio team are going to make or break our season, unfortunately. I mean, I wouldn't put it all down on the physio team, David, because obviously there'll be some things that are unavoidable. But I agree with what you're saying in that they're going to play a big part in terms of making sure that the players are looked after. And it's about that communication with Eddie Howe and, saying to him, listen, I don't think he should play because, he's played too many minutes or, he looks a bit run down. And it's all about that communication, because what we don't want is for too many players to break down. And then obviously we end up with a threadbare squad. We're not massive on numbers as it is. And we are 2, 3, 4 injuries away from a bit of a disaster. And hopefully that's not the case. But that leads me nicely onto the next question from Tom Dixon. And he says, here in Newcastle are left sweating over the fitness of Sven Botman and Dan Burn ahead of Saturday's visit to Manchester City. Pete, I'll start with you on this. Are you concerned about the centre backs? Are you okay with it? I mean, obviously we've got Fabian Schär. I suppose one, are you concerned? Yeah, and two, who do you think is going to start with Fabian Schär come the weekend?
Yeah, it's a big concern. And the reason being is because whether it's Burn or whether it's Botman, either one of them, whenever they've played against Man City, they've kept Haaland quiet, and they've played really well against him every time. So to not have either of them would be a massive, massive concern, because we know Haaland's big and he's physical and he's fast and he's strong. We know his qualities, but you've got to be able to keep him quiet. You've got to front him up, and that's. I mean, Burn, the game at St James's Park earlier on this season, I thought was excellent against Haaland. Defended him so well, didn't give him an inch. Proper went toe to toe with him in a real big, massive scrap. And Botman did the same against him last season. Even I think that was his last game before he went for his ACL surgery, and even then, Botman gave him a torrid time and has done every time he's come up against him. So you want those two players fit. Without knowing anything, I do feel that one of them will be fit. I do feel one of them will be fit, but whether it's Botman or Burn, I'm not sure. But I do think we'll be going into that game with one of them being fit. If you're going to ask me now, I'll probably say Botman because he's had longer to recover.
Yeah,
and that's the one I would probably go for to say they'll be fit. But hey, Eddie Howe, I won't put it past both of them being fit and available. That's just the nature of the type of player. I mean, Burn, yes, he's got a groin problem. He probably won't train all week, and then they'll have a look at him and assess him on Friday. He's as hard as nails. He'll want to be involved in this. He'll know how important this game at the Etihad will be, and he won't want to be missing it. That's for sure. So, I think we'll see one of them play. So it would definitely ease the situation, and then we've got Schär as the alternative. But we need it's not ideal, boys. Going into a game as big as that, having worries about your back line and who's going to start, it's not the ideal situation to be going into. We just need to make sure, more importantly, that Gordon's fit, because he's got a thigh injury as well. And there's, the fact that he didn't travel and Isak did tells you it's a little bit more of a problem than we maybe think it is. And I think Eddie Howe almost said that in his press conference after the game, is that the fact that it was serious enough for him not to travel, which Gordon's always there. I mean, he came on and played against Bromley for God's sake. So the fact that he's not played in this game tells you he has maybe a little bit of a problem. And I just hope it's not the club keeping it under wraps and it's a little bit more serious than we think, because we've still got Barnes that's still 2 weeks away. We are getting threadbare at the moment. So we just need to make sure that we're looking after our players. But I agree with the point that was made before. James Bunce and the team are going to be crucial because they're going to need to keep players on the pitch and keep them fit and keep them at their sharpest and at their best. That's going to be absolutely crucial. What Bunce and Howe do to get those players out on a regular basis, because it could potentially derail our season if we've not got the top level players available to us week in, week out. It could be the difference. So it is a little bit worrying at the moment.
Daz, your
For
thoughts,
me,
mate?
yeah. For me, I'm going to be the optimist and think that all three will be back. I think they'll all bounce back and be ready for the game against Man City. But why not? We'll stay that way until we hear more. And Eddie will put a downer on in the press conference, and then surprise on when the team sheet drops at an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff.
Yeah. Do you know what? I'll be honest, boys. Of the three, the one I'm worried about most is Ben, because we know he came off because of an injury. I don't want to say too harshly an injury. Maybe he's felt something or whatever. With Gordon, I hope it's nothing too serious, or maybe it goes back to what we've just been talking about. Maybe Bunce has said to him, "Do you know what? Just leave him at home. Let him rest up. He's had a little niggle. Just leave him and give him a few days off. Save him, traveling down to St Andrews." And it's funny with Botman. I don't know why. I'm like super confident that he's absolutely fine. I think it was a precaution to leave him out. I just think he's only just come back. Maybe he's felt things a little bit, but yeah, I think the centre back pairing at the weekend. I don't want to spoil the lineup selection. I think the centre back pairing is going to be Botman and Shaw. That's what I think we'll start with. And according to everyone in the chat and most Newcastle fans, in fairness, that's probably our strongest back line as well. Although I'm not downplaying Dan Bain because he's been absolutely superb. But yeah. And you just had the CEO lads up, Daz. We've had another question from David Veach, and he says, "Do you think Solis will be our new CEO in replacement of Darren Eales?" Go to you first.
Yeah, I haven't heard an awful lot. Maybe there's something about it today, but I haven't had a chance to check out. But that was a name that was doing the rounds there a while back. I don't know. Waiting patiently, like we're waiting on a lot of things to find out what's happening there. But was it you, Pete, or was it Keith Downey that said, or someone said on a show that we'll wait till after the announcement of the stadium before we have that news on the change? So I don't know. I can't remember.
I think I mentioned it. To be fair, it was
one
just
of the Sky
my
lads. One of the lads from Sky.
I knew you were gonna say that.
he was angling for it. I knew he was.
Fell right into my trap.
I didn't. I was just like, yeah, go for it. But yeah, it was just my hunch on it all. I think just waiting for the season to play out. Announce the stadium, which it seems like they are putting it back to the end of the season. We don't know for sure. Could be before that. Yeah, it just makes sense to do it in the close season, just to get everything in order. Everyone knows what they're doing. The stadium's been announced. There's no point. I'll say what I said before. There's no point announcing a CEO that hasn't been involved in the stadium decision and the training ground decision. We've got news on what potentially could be the training ground. We're hopefully getting news on what's happening with the stadium, new or rebuild. I think it just makes sense for that to be announced, and then the new CEO takes it forward. It just does.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate. I absolutely agree. Right. So next question from the Clon lads. Clon lads, this is really cynical, but I absolutely love it. So the Clon lad says, should we put Joe Linton on the bench at the weekend? Get him booked for verbal abuse to get his 2-game ban out the way. Mate, I love your thinking.
Brilliant.
I love your
Class.
Just send him on with his crutches. Just push him on. Joe should kick off on someone. Yeah, whack them with his stick. It's a great idea, Colin, lads. It really, really
It's
is.
not a bad shout at all.
Yeah.
Jason Tyndall, write that one down.
Oh, mate, yeah. Well, if Eddie and Jason are watching, there's the plan. So if you see Joe Linton on the sidelines with his moon boots on, you know he's going to come on and kick off. Just wait for it. Yeah, but no, great suggestion, Colin, lads. Really, really good suggestion. I like that. The shithousery is back. Absolutely. And this is a really easy one for me, and I'm sure you boys will agree. Tom Dixon says, question for Daz, Pete, and Chris. How do you think we'll do at the Etihad at the weekend? Wait for the away days, Tom, and then you will find out what we think, mate. You will find out what we think.
You knew that, Tom.
You knew Tom.
That. You're here long enough. You knew that.
He'll be there. He'll be there watching the show.
Oh, hang on. City Luke's in the chat. He's already panicking.
Oh.
Hope you're good, mate. Hope you are good.
Nice one, Luke.
You didn't know Joe Linton was out. It's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Oh, we are. Look at
that. Feel free to come and join us, Luke. You know the score.
You, Luke.
Feel free to.
Wait to find out.
Yeah.
We'll have him on there. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We'll get your opinions, Luke. Yeah, to be fair, you don't need to worry about us and whether Joe Linton's fit. You need to get through Real Madrid first. You need
and the Premier League.
Yeah,
and the Premier League. Then those APT2, isn't that what's happening now?
Yeah. We're in alliance with that though.
Oh yeah, we're all aboard.
We'll shake your hand on that one. We're in alliance for that one, but yeah, you need to get through Real Madrid first before you worry about us, fella.
Look at Luke crying it in already. Hey.
Yeah,
he's panicking already. He's panicking.
Yeah, well, when you got the best striker in the Premier League, you're gonna panic, aren't you? When the boy comes to town, he's gonna want some goals, and your defense is not looking good at the moment, and your goalkeeping situation. Look, I'm coming with questions now. I want to ask you on Thursday. So, look, we'll get a link to you, Luke, and we'll get you on Thursday. We'll have a discussion. We'll have a chat.
Yeah, but no, we'll have to mention APT. And Pete, really good point. We'll have to mention about the goalkeeper situation because you're absolutely right. It just feels like they swap every other week. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to get Luke's thoughts on that because I think not having a settled goalie, I don't think that helps either, does it? Boys. Oh, hang on a minute. Just before I do that, Haaland Isaac. Come on, Luke. Come on, Luke. You know that's wrong. Mate.
It's the other way.
But shout to a new member, Novo Castria. Thanks for becoming
welcome, Novo.
Welcome to the Loaded Ultras.
In the mix.
Where are you from, Novo Castria? As well.
Yeah.
Where are you from?
Yeah,
tell us in the chat. That's it, I think, boys. Is it? That is it. Chris has more pot noodle to devour before he gets playing football. And yeah, we will be back pretty soon. I wanted to give this one. What outro do you want, boys?
Oh, look at that. Latin for Newcastle. Novo Castria. That's Latin for Newcastle. Who knew?
Interesting.
Who knew?
Now we do. I'll go up with the quiz.
Been watching for years, boys, but Vietnam has weird payment laws and can only just get it sorted.
Oh, Vietnam. Welcome.
Well, thank you for joining up anyway, Novo Castria. Or Newcastle, should I say.
Good evening, Vietnam. Nice one.
Yeah, I'm surprised that so many people know that it's Latin for Newcastle. There's a few people in the comments saying it's Latin for
people
Newcastle.
Google it. Cool.
Every day's a school day, Pete? Every day is a school day.
It definitely is, mate. It definitely is.
Yeah.
Except for all those holidays.
Yeah.
What? I don't know what holidays you're on about, mate. We never get any. We've got one coming next week.
Jesus. Right, boys, what have we got? You want kiss me badge. How do you like that? Like a loaded magpie. Isaac 2.0. Our Super Sandro. What are you having?
Go on, Pete. You could have
Let's
it
see
in
the
Luke's
boys-
face, Pete.
Let's see the boys kissing the badge. Come on.
Yeah,
Kiss the
man.
badge. Right. Good night, everyone. We'll be back pretty soon. See you in the next one. Smash that like button on the way out. Go on.
I'm trying to be romantic, I'll get it from the back just so you don't get attached. I like the way you kiss me, I can tell you missing, I can tell it this. I'm trying to be romantic, I'll get it from the back just so you don't get attached. I like the way you kiss me, I can tell you missing, I can tell it this. I'm trying to be romantic, I'll get it from the back just so you don't get attached. Each and every single